Good morning. It's been a couple days. I have not gotten out to walk, and I'm going to say that this was not me regressing, but just me on the path. I think sometimes that we think that if we started something, that if we miss or if we fall back into an old habit, that we have destroyed our consistency and now we have to start all over again. There's a level of discouragement that comes when we set out for a goal and maybe we fall back. Right now I'm thinking about sobriety. I don't know if anyone is struggling with that, but if you made a mistake, if you fell back on the path, that's not a sign for us to just keep falling back. It's time to dust ourselves off, pick ourselves up, and recommit ourselves to ourselves and take inspired action. Do not go back into old beliefs, old behaviors. We can have a moment. This is not to encourage anybody to intentionally leave a practice that they have created. But I don't want us to get down on ourselves. I don't want us to fall into despair because we've had a setback. I think that's a really important lesson for us to learn. We've talked about being in the in-between, how being in the in-between can often feel like a delay, a denial, that we're stuck. And I think that Spirit is really wanting me to speak to you a disappointment. So disappointments are the same as the in-between. They are still our sacred in-between, because in our experiencing a setback or a disappointment, or even what we would perceive as a failure, when we're seeing ourselves as getting from A to B, of course, we're going to see that as a failure. We're going to get into either victim mindset, or we can get into a mindset that actually beats up on ourselves, that is punishing ourselves for where we are and what we've done. And I think when we do things like that, when we punish ourselves, we seek to humiliate or embarrass ourselves into submission, we have lost sight that this is a journey, that life is a journey, and that we're here to learn. So what did we learn in the setback? What did we learn in us falling into an old way? What was that pattern that we ignored and we forgot to interrupt? Okay, now I see why Spirit said we're going to be talking about transmutation and alchemy today. And also resistance has been at the forefront of my mind. So transmutation, let's break that down. Transmutation and alchemy. Transmutation and alchemy are really about taking something in one form and going through a process to refine it into a completely different form. Transmutation and alchemy is like magic. It's real. And here's the reason why. It's because there really is a process where we can take straw and turn it into gold. Maybe not literally. We can use something that is not useful and transform it into something that is useful. I was watching a video the other day of this amazing young man who has found a way to transmute and alchemize the energy of plastic, used plastic waste, into diesel fuel, usable diesel fuel. Now, I've seen this before with other things where we take something, the energy of a thing, and we transmute it, we alchemize it into something that can be used. So there's nothing wasteful. There's nothing that is not of use. Everything is energy. And when we remember that everything is energy, then we remember that energy cannot be destroyed. Transmutation means that we're transforming. Alchemy means that we are breaking down those energetic components into something else that we desire to create. So when we think about this in our personal lives, how can we take the energy of an experience and transmute and alchemize that experience into something useful? So we talked about how looking at what we perceive as a failure, let's look at that as a lesson. What did we learn? How did we bypass what our mind or our emotions was telling us? What can we learn about how we fell into that disappointment or fell into that setback? And how can we apply the energy, the knowledge of that information? How can we apply that to our life so that when we see the signal from our body, our mind, our emotions that remind us of this situation where we fell back or had a disappointment, we can transmute that into success. We can transmute that energy into us making a different choice. What I'm thinking about right now is, and how this pertains to resistance, is that I see myself as a very practical person. So if I have experienced a disappointment in the past around something that's a little bit similar to what I'm doing now, I am thinking about how that went down. And in my mind's like, well, we kind of know how this goes. You do this, this will be the outcome. So maybe don't do that. Maybe don't do that because that's not going to work. We tried it. And while it may seem very logical that I've thought through and applied a previous experience to a situation and saved myself the time and the headache and the heartache by assessing that this is how this is going to go down. So save your time. That does not allow for spirit. It does not allow for spirit and the limitless possibilities that I do know exist. You know, I feel like I'm recognizing that this part of me is an old habit and behavior that is seeking to save me time and headache and heartache because I am not seeing the value of the headache and heartache. What did I learn in the headache and the heartache? How can I alchemize the headache and the heartache so that I'm not expecting anything but a lesson? And that lessons are all about the reason why I came here. Lessons are how we get closer to our desired outcome. But when we're attached to the outcome, then we will see, you know what, if this isn't going to get me to where I want to go, then why do it? Alchemy is when we take the things that we've known about ourselves. We look at that process of how we operate and what has not served us. And you know, here's the interesting thing. I could look at that process and say, it serves me. It saves me headache and heartache. But that's me looking at it from a mindset that is really saying, I just want what I want. And if I'm not going to get what I want, I'm not going to do anything else. That is a mindset that is only focused on physical. It is not focused on emotional expansion. It is not focused on intellectual expansion. It is not focused on the soul expansion. Your energy can keep you stuck in a place. Sometimes we are stuck, but we don't have to be. And that's the truth. You see, when our energy, when we have resistance, oh, come on through spirit. When we have resistance to the lessons, then we're not going to grow in the way that we really could, because we're not embracing the thing that is going to make us stronger, that is going to cause our heart, our soul, our mind to expand, our souls to expand. We are looking for the easy way. There's this saying, no pain, no gain, right? In the gym, no pain, no gain. And I'd like to rephrase that because nobody likes pain. Nobody wants to experience pain willfully. If there's another way to gain without the pain, give that to me. But if we say resistance comes to make us strong, resistance is a part of our strengthening ourselves. and us learning how to alchemize and transmute the situations in our lives. It's how we grow. It's how we expand. And there is no expansion without transmutation. There is no expansion without resistance. There is no expansion without alchemy. Everything is energy. We are energetic beings. Our mind is energy. Our emotion is energy. Our soul is energy. And so the process of our growth and expansion is through transmutation. Taking what is, taking what exists, taking what we know and expanding it, transforming it, living in a new awareness, living in a new insight, expanded, knowing more, and therefore seeing the situation differently. This goes right back to the levels of consciousness: victim consciousness, manifestor consciousness, channel consciousness, oneness consciousness. What happens? We transmute, we alchemize our level of consciousness into a higher level, into something that expands us, that removes the resistance. Not removes the resistance, removes our negative reaction to the resistance. But it is about resistance. So in victim mindset, we are resisting this idea that things can happen for us, right? We are in this place of saying, I am where I am because I have no control. We are resisting the truth that will help us alchemize our consciousness, the energy of our consciousness, into a manifesting consciousness. In the manifestor consciousness, the new resistance is that things aren't just being given to me, like I'm calling things to me. The things are me. Now, as we get up higher here, we're not in resistance, like pushing away this idea. We're pulling this idea closer to us. Think about when you are in the gym and you are lifting a weight. You are pulling that weight towards you. The resistance it's heavier now. And you have to do the work of pulling that information in. How can you look at your situation? Things aren't happening to me, I know that. So I can move right into things are happening for me. That there's Big Sky Daddy here to give me things. That it's separate from me and that it gives things to me. I just need to know the formula, how to manifest. But when we go from manifestor consciousness into channel consciousness, we know things that are flowing through us, that they are connected to us. And so it's not something or someone out there that is not connected to us, bringing it in. We are the conduit. We bring it in. And then oneness consciousness is removing the resistance of that belief that we are, again, still separate from all the goodness, all things, right? We understand our oneness with it. We understand our oneness with nature and people, and we come to this awareness that it is us. That is alchemy with our consciousness. Now, how can we apply that alchemy and that transmutation of energy when it comes to our situations, when it comes to our relationships? If we have a relationship dynamic with someone and it feels unchangeable, you, my friend, are in victim consciousness about it. You are not seeing how you are seeing how things are happening to you. How can you move into seeing how this is happening for you? What are you here to learn through this experience, through this relationship? Maybe it's that you are worthy of more. Maybe it's that you are seeing your choices on how you can respond. You don't have to be in the dynamic that you are seeing in this relationship. You can change the dynamic. Then you can see how you can channel something new in this experience. How can you channel a different energy, a different frequency into this relationship? So you're learning, you are transmuting the relationship dynamic as we speak. And then oneness consciousness is seeing yourself in that person. Where do I do that thing that they do in our relationship dynamic? And how can I make sure that I am not being that? How can I have compassion on what they are being and doing? Because I know that this is a behavior that I have the potential to hold. And so how can I transmute the energy that I experience with them? How can I make sure that I am making less of that in the world? So this is my share for today. I hope that it helps you as you are navigating life, as you are seeing the change that you want to bring into the world. And I hope that it directs you towards some practices that you can embody to be the change that you want to see. I want to invite you to dive deeper on Patreon. I have exercises, integration practices that you can take part in. Dive deep into the wisdom of your soul. Have a great day.